your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
It's September 4th. It's Labor Day weekend. My gosh, it's the day before the Kentucky Derby. We've got college football. It's almost like it's normal, Dustin DePirick, but it's not really.
It's totally normal to have college football and the NBA playoffs and baseball and the Kentucky Derby in the same weekend.
All at the same time, yeah.
Totally normal. And on Labor Day weekend, when we're 2 weeks away from having to wear hoodies and jeans again.
Yeah, can't believe it that it's here already. This has been the weirdest, fastest, craziest year. But yeah, it is gone. And man, it is Labor Day weekend. But we do have sports to talk about, which is fun and incredible. We were talking off. We can call it college football. It's officially it is. But they give you something. But
it's not marquee. It's not a game that you would usually circle on your calendar at all.
UAB
might not even be televised.
University of Alabama. Birmingham, who they play?
It was South Alabama and Southern Miss.
Well, South Alabama and Southern Miss, and then there was UAB and somebody else. I just had that score pulled. Central Arkansas, who played last week, I think. UAB was a 23-point favorite.
Yeah. Did UAB play too? Yeah. It's like the first week of
they played each other.
Did they? Okay. It's like the first week of bowl season when after the Heisman before Christmas.
This is the Gasparilla Bowl or the Cherries Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Central Arkansas, but they were a 23-point underdog, and they lose 45-35. So at least that sounded like that was an exciting game to watch. South Alabama beat Southern Miss 32-21. So there you go. But we got high school football this weekend tonight. Lots of high school games. Some big games, as a matter of fact. Number 1 Center Grove and number 2 Carmel. 6A. Much better than that. There you go. Number 1 and number 2 at the top, man.
Pretty legit right there. Those are two teams you won't want to see. That's marquee stuff right there.
Taven Jackson, quarterback in Center Grove. Trace Jackson Davis's brother at the QB spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's pretty special. He's a pretty special athlete all around. I mean, I don't know what that's going to translate like, who's looking at him, but he's a heck of an athlete.
It reminds me of a lot of people may not know, Allen Iverson was one of the most sought-after football recruits in college in a long time. There's a former assistant coach. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. He's with the foundation now. Mark, I can't think of his name, but anyway, he was talking to me about it one day and talking that he was recruiting him and how they wanted him so badly.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw him Allen Iverson talking about John Thompson the other day and talking about the football side of things. But apparently he was a bad man on the football field as he was on the basketball court.
How far removed was he from Ronald Curry? You remember Ronald Curry?
Yeah, I'm trying to put him in a timeline of when it was.
Yeah,
I'm thinking this was back around. This is Antoine Randall L era. I think.
All right. I
think.
Yeah, I mean, because Iverson was in the mid-'90s. I'm trying to remember when Curry was, because Curry was a thing. We played, quarterback and point guard at Carolina, and that was a deal when he was coming out, because it was he was top 10 recruit in both sports. Ended up playing in the NFL. And it wasn't like he had a completely busted career, but obviously just never seemed like he could focus. But where Iverson picked a direction, and you can't, I think they have football at Georgetown, but nobody knows about it. It's not FBS. But Curry tried playing both, and I feel like that was in a similar time frame and a big, huge deal at the time.
Absolutely. Just great athletes sometimes amaze us at the things they can do. NBA action last night. The late game had the Clippers and the Nuggets, 120-97 winner by the Clippers. They take a 1-0 lead in the beginning of that series. But the game of the night, how about OG?
How about it?
OG for 3, 104-103. The Raptors beat the Celtics to get off the schneid. That series is now Celtics lead at 2-1. But how about OG? He has just become a complete player, or becoming a complete player. He comes out of college a defensive juggernaut, but not much of an offensive guy. We look back on his short career at IU. offense was not something we think about with OG, but he is really developing that, and he's doing it at the elite level of the NBA.
Yeah, no, and obviously just with his raw athleticism, his ability to get up, his ability to run in transition, you expect him to get buckets that way. But we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. He's starting to develop a half court game. And the shot is really there. I mean, I think he was 3 for 5 last night from three. He hasn't always been. He wasn't a terrible shooter at IU. I mean, he didn't have great numbers. I think I just looked it up. One of those years, I think he was 13 for 29. So that's not a lot of attempts, but that's somewhere in the 40. That's healthily in the 40s. But that's just a big time shot at a big time moment. And again, that's not hitting threes is not what he's known for. I mean, he's got 0.5 on the clock, and he knows that he's got no chance to really get a clean one off. He's got to alter the shot a little bit. And Jaylen Brown had a really good contest on that, even though he was coming off of a guy. I mean, the Celtics obviously got sort of crossed up in some switches and didn't have anybody there on the catch. But considering how far he had to go, Jaylen Brown really got a hand up. And, OG had to know he was going to get a hand up and still got a lot of arc on that thing. Got it off quick. It was clean with the off his hands with about 0.1 to go. Big time shot all around. Just impressive work for him to hit that. Really saves the Raptors season because you don't like life going down 3-0 and it's 2-1 and all of a sudden that's a series and it keeps Toronto in this thing.
Let's hear those last few seconds last night, though. The excitement of OG sticking in the winner.
Stay up high, taking anybody coming to the ball.
Series on the line. Anunoby got it off and it goes. Did it count is the question.
That's how close it was, man. They didn't even know. But even a bubble game, that's excitement. I mean, when you're watching those games, they've become exciting. So we've gotten past the doldrums of the COVID hangover. But man, these playoff games have been fun. And we always talk about the NBA playoffs being much better. But this is. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm getting too old, but as I'm watching these games, they seem a little closer to college. Not that the NBA needs to be the college game, but it's a little bit more of a blend that I think will bring more fans in. It's been a more enjoyable game for me to watch. I've enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, no, I have a hard time putting my finger on what's different about the bubble, and I think it just. I don't want to say it feels pure, but it feels like it's like if you've ever watched a men's league, you know what I mean, where but with way higher caliber. You take the fan thing out of it. It's just there's people kind of coming in and out of the gym and whatever, but it's not like no one's there to root for somebody. The home court experience isn't there. It's not like all right, well it gets quiet when the road team does well or anything like that. It just feels. Kind of just pure in that sense. I mean, again, like an AAU tournament, but way better. And guys just seem more just sort of locked in there just together. And it's just like, all right, it's like you got the same guys on the playground to say, all right, take all the BS out of it, take all the showmanship out of it. Our guys and your guys, you show up, we want to beat you. I mean, there's something to that. There's a level of purity to it. Again, not what you want. You'd rather have the fan, experience to it. You'd rather have real noise coming in there. You'd rather not be looking at fans from a Zoom screen that are superimposed on the wall. I mean, it's cooler than some of the other things, but it's still, it's still not the real thing. But there is an element of this that's really fun. And you forget when it gets real for these guys, it gets tough. I mean, and they are nasty competitors. I think we get used to the fact that, an NBA season is so long, and in the regular season, they're just not, you can't be dialed in, for not only an 82 game regular season, but 100 some odd game, postseason. So they're not going to be like this every night in January, whereas a college season, you're going at it for 32. You can summon it every night in a college season that's truncated. It's hard to do that every night for the NBA, but these guys really do hit another notch when it comes to playoff basketball, and they're supremely talented. And when they really care, it's a marvel to watch them play basketball and just how much they get after it is, on both sides of the ball. Again, when it really counts, NBA players are just something special to watch.
It is, and I think that It's funny. Exactly how you described it is exactly how I think. I can't put my finger on it, but what's different. But sometimes I think, and this sounds crazy, but I think that they're too good. They don't miss shots. It's like, I don't know. It's like the drama isn't quite there, but I think that that's not fair by a viewer, by someone like me, because they're so good. And I think because they hit shots just, I mean, of course they missed a lot too, but the frequency of which they hit is so much better. And I think that people that are college purists sometimes just don't enjoy like the James Harden type play of the league. Maybe they don't understand it, but it's just a different type of league or a different type of game. And I think if you can get past that, you can probably enjoy that game a lot better. And I'm including myself in that group of people.
Yeah, no, you have to deal with the fact that it's really the biggest difference is the number of games. You know, that's really what changes everything. Just the way a game gets played, the fact that you've got to have like a second team, the fact that there's going to be possessions in the regular season that don't look, you know, that look like no one cares. You know, there's going to be possessions like that. You know, like they're going to take plays off over that stretch where you're not going to see that in college.
The NBA seems like a league that it appears like they take more off than say the NFL or Major League Baseball or whatever, and it's probably not true.
Baseball does too. But baseball,
I was going to say it's probably not true. It just optically it appears that way. Maybe because of the speed of the game. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it's because they're so fast. You can tell when they dial it down. And when you're around these guys for that long, and I covered it. 3/4 of a baseball season, the grind is so much a part of it that it's hard to put anybody else in that position, especially because you look at, like when you're teaching your kids what they're supposed to be like, like you want, in baseball, like you tell them you got to run out every single ground ball. Well, like, no, in Major League Baseball, they don't run every single ground ball because you're going to wear yourself out. And you don't have to worry about that with 8-year-old kids that are going to play 20 games in a summer or something like that. When it's 162 and then next year another 162 and then next year another 162, that takes a toll. It's like, I mean, LeBron James, his game load in his career is so high. When you not only count all the playoff years that went all the way to the finals, plus Olympic seasons. I mean, the guy has had to play so many games. Like, he is not going to bust it every time down the court, especially when he knows the guy's almost at the rim. You're just not going to, especially because you can take a loss in January or December. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you got to be there in April, March, March, April, May, June normally. So you're going to see evidence of that, and it turns people off because you can watch a college season where they're only playing 32 and they can bust it playing over 100 games if you go well over 100 games if you go to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, that's a
big difference.
It is a grueling schedule, and I think that you're exactly right. But I think that maybe the years of the NBA being so disproportionately different from the college game may just start to weld together a little bit. Not that we want it to totally, because it needs to be a separate game. Sure. Hey, we've got a monster show today, man. Lots coming up. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com will join us. Indiana, another offer, man. It has been a busy week for Archie Miller and the staff, and I cannot wait to talk to Alec about this because Kenya Hunter has been involved on all of these. Mm-hmm. I mean, you talk about getting busy. Yeah. What's he been? He's only been officially announced for like 3 days. Of course, he's been on the job for at least a week or more, but to say he's only been on the job a week, they put out 4 offers. I think 4, maybe 5. It's I think it may be 5 offers in his week. Mm-hmm. And he's been involved in all those. Man, you talk about having an instant impact. Yeah. We'll talk to Alec Lasley about that today. Caleb Keller is going to join us. I've known his family forever, but Caleb's an IU grad, host for TVG, and it's Derby weekend, so we'll talk about the Derby. And we have the famous Kirk Haston clip. Dustin, you've probably not heard this. I had Kirk on a couple of years ago for a Derby show on Friday of the Derby, and it was the day I was calling all kinds of different IU people to get their Derby pick, just making something fun that day. Had Coach Mallory on. It was just a few weeks before he would pass, unfortunately. But,
wow. Yeah.
But Kirk wants to make up his own horse's name. He says, "Can I make up?" I said, "Sure." So he makes up his own horse, and this was not planned, and I had no idea where he was going with this because I was completely off guard because it was Kirk Haston.
Yeah.
So he says the horse's name, and you'll hear the clip later, but because it's a complete comedy act. And I'm like, this is all just laying out. I could not have scripted any better, but I have played that thing every year now for the Derby. We'll look forward to hearing that. It's like a Christmas thing. It's like hearing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at Christmas. You got to hear Kirk Hasten at Derby time. But we got lots coming up. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday, September 4th. And we're back with, I don't know, we got Alec coming up next or Caleb Keller. One of them's going to join us next. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We'll be back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Should I go? Should I stay or should I go now? Should I stay or should I go now?
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday, September 4th. Joined now by Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. It has been a busy week for Indiana basketball, Alec, and the offers flying left and right. But that has all coincided with the addition of Kenya Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was probably the busiest week in probably Archie Miller's tenure when it comes to the recruiting trail. I mean, there were altogether going back to last weekend, there were, I think, 6 offers out in total. One for the 2021 class with Hunter Salas, and then 5 for the 2022 class. So, he's really loading up, and every single one of those had to do with Kenya Hunter. Every single one of them, either from his ties to the kind of Georgetown and UConn jobs, but also the Nebraska job as well that he had in the past. But it's just showing his very strong ties to the kind of DC, Virginia area. And, sooner rather than later, I think this is going to pay off. And this was a home run hire, in my opinion. I think, we can keep talking about it. Look at all these offers out. Obviously, we're not going to know until someone actually commits and we see, who was the lead recruiter on that. But I think already you're seeing that Kenya Hunter is not here to mess around, and he's, going to do a great job for this program.
Obviously, in the Crean era, they recruited that DMV region a lot. Victor Oladipo coming out of there, but several others, and especially kind of became a bigger focal point towards the end. When they had Kenny Johnson on staff, and also when Chuck Martin as well. How much do you think resonance is still there in that East Coast region? How much do you think Indiana still maintains some credibility out there? Obviously, Kenny already had it on his own, but how much does it also help that they could tap into the past of successes that players from that region have had in Indiana?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously there had been a little bit of a lull over the past couple of years from there, but Bruiser Flint still had decent enough ties in that area to at least kind of build the relationships with some of those guys already. So I think this is just going to be, that much better and that much more of a building block with the relationships that Kenya Hunter has, really able to kind of cement that kind of those national ties, but definitely those regional ties in that area for, not so much just for the 2022 class, but obviously, we're looking now for, if you do land one of those 5 or 6 guys that are already offered, obviously that's going to build even more of a relationship for those high school coaches and those AAU coaches as well. So, I think the relationship has been there, but this is only going to strengthen that much more.
Can't hear you, Jim. All right, I'll take over because I don't think Jim realizes he can't hear us. I guess talk a little bit about just the players that have been offered, Alec. I mean, what's I know it's a list of guys at several different positions. What has this told you about what they want in 2022? What do you know about just some of the guys that they've offered since Hunter's been on board?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first one for 2022 was Rodney Rice, point guard out of DeMatha, same high school that Victor Oladipo went to. Super talented point guard. He can play a little bit both on and off the ball. And I think, we've kind of talked about this with some of the other players that have been offered and some of the other players that have committed to IU in the past class or two, that Archie Miller is really looking for kind of those combo guards who can play both on and off the ball. And that's exactly what you get with Rodney Rice. He's a great shooter, great playmaker. And again, this is, I think, the 6th or 7th point guard that's now been offered for the class of 2022. So, we've talked about it before. The point guard position is obviously a main point for that 2022 class. And that just even cements that thought a little bit more with Rodney Rice. Then you got a couple wings and Justin Taylor from Virginia, Maceo Troutman from Maryland. Taylor's a top 60 kind of wing, super talented, super talented shooter. Obviously that's what Indiana needs, and that's what they're looking at him for. Maceo Troutman, kind of a little bit more still developing on both ends of the floor, but you can see the athleticism just jump off the screen when he's in the game. He's still kind of developing his jump shot a little bit more, but super talented defender, super athletic, a lot of length when it comes to that. And kind of the second main position that Indiana was really looking at was in the front court at the center position. Obviously Logan Duncombe, is coming in next year, but that 2022 class, you only have Sean Phillips as the main center that's been offered. And that front court is obviously going to be kind of slim pickings over the next year or two with obviously Race Thompson leaving. You got Trace Jackson Davis, who's most likely gone after this year as well. So obviously Joey Brunk in there too. So Favor, I'm probably going to butcher this name, but Favor Airy from Maryland. He's top 50 in the class. A load of Big Ten and ACC offers already. Kind of a little bit more raw on the offensive end, but he's definitely one of those defensive shot blocking guys that would definitely excel in the Big Ten.
A la Thomas Bryant kind of a player.
Yeah, not as developed quite yet on the offensive end, but definitely athletic, definitely a nice solid build for a sophomore, obviously rising into the junior class right now. But he's kind of more of I don't want to say a project, but he would be more of an offensive project. But then again, if you put him around some of these, a Trey Kaufman or any of these other kind of wings that IU's looking at, again, I don't know how much offensive production you really need from a center.
Yeah, he's right outside the D.C. area. It's going to be. I would think it would be difficult to get him away from the Terrapins, but who knows?
Yeah, Maryland's been involved there for a while. This one just came up the other day. Again, it's still tied to Kenya Hunter, but I would be looking kind of more at some of these other wings and guards for if you're going to look at anyone that Kenya Hunter would bring in out of this most recent group. But he's definitely someone to obviously keep watching, as he is just a junior right now. So we still have a ways to go before anything really will happen in most of these recruitments.
The Indiana's been so Indiana dominant as far as their recruiting, and the players, the core are Indiana kids, the long time been in programs here. And now Indiana looking to potentially have some success on the national side, which they've not really done here lately. Not danger, but the trick to me is going to be to get those guys who are going to be elite players to meld with these core players that IU already has within the state that are Indiana guys, quote, because when you start bringing in quote unquote superstars, there's a lot of egos out there, and you've got to get this to weld together. They haven't had that issue yet. Yeah,
and I think you look at it. We've talked about it numerous times that obviously IU is going to be going after really, really talented players on the floor, but they're really shifting to really good people as well off the floor and, in the classroom. And I think that's the main thing that a lot of people are going to start to see from Archie Miller in these classes, starting to build on one another, is, you see Trace Jackson Davis recruiting the state. You see Logan Duncombe recruiting the state. You're going to start seeing some of these guys, once they do start to land that out-of-state talent, be like, hey, I'm having a great time here. The coaching staff is doing wonders for my game. I'm going to go recruit out of state as well. And, I don't know if you're necessarily going to see that too much in the 2022 class, just because we haven't had a lot of out-of-state guys going to Indiana. But I think you're going to see it a lot more, maybe the tail end of the 2022 class and then 2023 and beyond, assuming, IU starts to land some of these out-of-state prospects.
What do you think that to do to make sure they get the balance right? I mean, that I think was a part of maybe the downfall of Tom Crean was, he obviously started early with a lot of success in the state. There's a lot of stories that happened, especially with the 2014 class where he had Trey Lyles in the fold for more or less 3 years before losing to Kentucky. James Blackman was in and out before he was in again. And sort of after that was sort of maybe really the end for him in the state. And he started to really put more of, his chips in on, that Northeast corridor, and that Mid-Atlantic corridor. What do you think Archie Miller can do, has to do, and what is he maybe better built to do, to be able to eventually mold those things together, to sort of maintain his, sort of foothold in the state, and also be able to branch out and not cause problems? Because, Indiana basketball coaches don't always take that well when you start looking for players outside of Indiana.
Yeah, and I think that was obviously, Tom Crean's downfall towards the end of his career at IU, was just going a lot more heavy out of state. And you can already tell, from day one, Archie Miller's put an emphasis on in-state kids. And you look at the roster top to bottom, it's in-state, almost every single player. Obviously, you got, one or two here or there, but that was the main thing that Archie Miller wanted to do. And when you think about Indiana and you think about the great Indiana programs, and I'm not talking about just like one year here and there, but, you go back to obviously Bob Knight's whole era. That was run by in-state kids. And I think the tough thing was yeah, exactly. The tough thing with Tom Crean was he landed a couple really, really, really talented players who only stayed a year or two. And I think you're seeing Archie Miller really building a full roster. And that's going to start with in-state kids. And you look at that with Armand Franklin, Rob Finnessy, Anthony Leal, Trey Galloway. All these guys are going to be 3-4 year players at the minimum 3 years. I think we can all agree on that. And then that just continues to build that relationship. If they're there for 4 years and they continue to develop each year, I don't know how as a high school basketball coach in Indiana, you're not going to want to, kind of push for any of your players to go there as well. So I think, it's going to pay off a lot here in the next year when you're starting to see a lot more of that rotation be true, homegrown talent. And one of those guys with Anthony Leal, I think if he really kind of shoots off, sophomore, junior year, coming from a Bloomington kid in and out. That's going to be someone that's going to recruit that state just maybe even better than an assistant coach would.
Right. Is this a hire, Kenya Hunter? And I know hindsight's 2020, but is this the kind of hire that we wish Archie Miller would have had when he came to Indiana to really, because we see what's about to happen, and that could have been the catapult from the onset, because it seemed like I guess in the beginning he had to re-grasp the recruiting within the state, because Dustin, as you mentioned, it had gone away under Crean, so I guess that had to be re-won. So maybe it had to be this way, but it's taken 3 years to get to the point of really starting to bring in national recruits. But if he would have come in with Archie, man, there's no telling where they would be right now. But obviously they are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Archie's recruiting classes without, obviously, Kenya Hunter. He still landed, 5 stars every single year with, Romeo, Langford, Trace, Jackson Davis, and then obviously Christian Lander. So
all 3 within the state, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And I think while that would have been great, I don't know necessarily if that was the way to go. Because
right.
Like we just talked about, it was all about winning over the in-state kids, the in-state coaches,
yep.
in-state parents, in-state fans. And once you do that, then it opens up everything else. And I think that's really what you're starting to see now. And I think that was the way to go. And that's going to be what's going to, in the end, catapult this program to, back to that national kind of stage where everyone kind of has that feeling where, okay, this is Indiana's year. And maybe Indiana goes to Sweet 16, and then they know that they're going to build on it the next year and everything like that.
And Dustin, everyone, Hoosier Nation clamoring to have Indiana basketball back where it was. And as Alec has pointed out, they are heading in that direction. And I think he's right. I agree with him that I think it had to be done this way. Yeah. For long lasting, to have long lasting success. It looks to me, this is the way to go. And it looks like it's going to work.
And it matters who was there coming into the time too. What do the classes look like? Who was coming out of the state? I mean, it was way more important to get Romeo Langford and Trace Jackson Davis than it would have ever been to get someone from out of state. If you miss on Romeo and you go get some top 50 kid from the DMV, that's not the same. I mean, for whatever anybody wants to say about whether or not Romeo's career was disappointing.
Yeah, I was going to say that includes with his whatever you think of his career and him only being here 1 year. You are correct. The importance.
Right. You had to plant that flag in the ground and saying, this kid's too good to leave the state. We're going to get him, and that's way more valuable than if you would. I mean, if they'd have got Cam Reddish or somebody like that, even though he's higher ranked, like, does that have the same impact as getting Romeo? I don't think so.
I agree with you. Hey, man, I cannot thank you enough, Alec. You always do an incredible job. Make sure you follow him at thehoosier.com. Big weekend coming up for college football, but hopefully we'll be back to college basketball soon. But big weekend for you. What you got going? Happy holiday weekend. Yeah,
just going to enjoy the weather a little bit, have some fun. But yeah, like you said, we're obviously watch the NBA with how about OG last night? That was fun.
I'm telling you, it was. I was getting text messages, people like, whoa. It was just fun stuff. But hopefully we get to some more of that, and maybe the Raptors will tie that series up and take it to 7 games. But I hope you have a great weekend, man. I appreciate you so much. Happy Derby weekend, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. You guys have some fun.
Alec Lasley joining us here on the Indiana Sports Beat from thehoosier.com. We got plenty more coming up. I think Caleb Keller is going to join us when we come back from TVG. He's actually out in L.A., so hopefully he remembered and woke up. But we got a lot more coming up regardless. It's Friday. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back. Eagle Point Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you on this Friday. It is September 4th. It's Labor Day weekend. I cannot believe that. That means we have a long weekend. I always forget that. I am so plowed, head down, plowing ahead. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if we're doing a show live Monday. We probably will, but Derby weekend on top of that. Caleb Keller was planning on joining us, but I think he overslept. He's in L.A. I got to give him that. He's out 3 hours behind us. A little early. He's a former IU grad or an IU grad, but a host for TVG. Pretty cool. Yeah. Caleb had no broadcasting journalism experience whatsoever. Was just into horses and really started getting into it. And next thing you know, he's on TVG. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Impressive work. It's impressive work. Damn.
It is. Derby weekend coming up. Kirk Haston, a couple of years ago, I think I explained it earlier. I was a Friday show, and I was doing an IU kind of a theme related to the Derby, calling different people, getting their Derby picks. And Kirk was all about it, and he's such a character. If you don't know the Kirk Haston story, how much of a nut he is. And the fact that I truly believe that one day he will be governor of Tennessee. I really believe that because he's such a people person and likable, and I think that he truly wants to do the right thing with what he's doing in the house down there in Tennessee. I really believe that, but this clip will never go away, unfortunately. And this was Kirk Haston's attempt at naming his own horse. Then I asked him, well, how would that Derby go with your horse? But let's hear. This is a minute 15 of absolutely bliss. So, Will, let's let her fly. This is Kirk Haston's Derby call.
Well, the Derby favorite is, of course, Who Smelt It and Dealt It. But this is, I think it's because of this heart has such a big heart, and it's going to be it's not going to be the favorite, but it'll be one that gets a lot of action. His heart is H-E-A-R-T-E-D, and we're just going to really pull for him down the stretch. So we'll see how this goes.
How do you think it's going to turn out?
Well, I think it's going to go something a little like this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day at the Derby. We're getting ready to get set, and they're off. Well, Hoof Hearted is really sticking it up out of the gate, but hopefully they'll pull it out down the stretch. Man, I really am disappointed or Hoof-Hearted is pulling out. It's going past Sharman. Hoof-Hearted is coming down the stretch. Hoof-Hearted is picking up ground on Who Smelt It, They Dealt It. Hoof-Hearted. Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. These people are throwing there's toilet paper. Hoof-Hearted wins.
Yes,
Wow.
I know how stupid and childish and sophomoric it is, but it's the fact that it's Kirk Haston that did that, and that was completely unscripted. I mean, I had no idea that he was going to do the call of the race. It's like he must have had that thing planned out, and it's just hilarious. And again, I really believe he's going to be governor one day, and I hope it does not come back to haunt him. I don't think it will, because he's just such a genuine person. But
he'll get points for that in Tennessee. That'll get him a few more votes, I promise. I
guarantee it. He's a character. Yeah, they love characters. Everybody loves people.
They do. I guarantee in that state. I mean that gets him. As a Republican, Knoxville is not going to be one he runs away with, but he gets a few more points in Knoxville for that. I think, no question about it. Just for the goofiness, I think he comes a little bit closer there. Runs away in the country states, country counties. I think Kirk Haston is your future governor of Tennessee. That's for sure.
I don't doubt it. And I keep talking about the Derby weekend, but I haven't really talked about the Derby itself.
I feel like I haven't even seen names. Who's even the favorite?
Tis the Law is.
Tis the Wall. Wow.
Tis the Law, and I think it's Tis Now was another. I remember that horse from previously, so I think that horse out of Tis Now. But there was another horse. I'm forgetting the name that just days ago was scratched. That was a co-favorite. So they were really, really looking forward to that matchup. And it's weird this year too, because you got the Triple Crown that normally is the Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont.
Right.
Haven't they already ran the Preakness?
Well, they already ran
the Belmont.
I think
the Belmont.
I don't even remember what it was. I just know it happened.
And it was a shortened race. On top of that, it was a shortened Belmont.
Right. And the Belmont's the longest one, and that's the Secretariat race. And, by 34 lengths or whatever it was that he won by back then. Yeah, no. Man, I'm looking this up just to see even names. It's something that it has been just screwed up. It's been unfortunate that it hasn't been on the usual track. So I don't even know who won the Belmont. No idea.
I think Tis the Law did, but it was
if there was a Triple Crown winner this year.
Because it was a reduced, it was a short distance. The short distance of the Belmont down from 1.5 miles to 1 1/3 means Tis the Law is relatively untested at the 1 1/4 mile distance of Saturday's Kentucky Derby. Traditionally, the first jewel in the Triple Crown. Kentucky Derby 2020 date was shuffled back, obviously because of COVID-19. So that means we still have the Preakness to come after this.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be a weird deal, but Tis the Law is definitely the favorite, I think.
That's what I'm seeing, yeah.
A 5-8 favorite in the latest odds. Santa Anita Derby Honor AP, who did not run the Belmont, is 5-1. Authentic, another horse that skipped the Belmont, is 8-1. So you used to have that. Now it doesn't matter if you skip the Belmont because it was before and it's shorter, and it's a weird deal. But so there's that. So everybody enjoyed the weekend. What do you? We were talking off air, and I asked what are your plans? It's a big holiday weekend. You mentioned some Derby festivities, maybe.
Yeah, no. My wife's best friend, she was her maid of honor. It's her 30th birthday. So my wife is throwing a Derby 30 party. And
nice.
Apparently, I mean, obviously, you can't have a big, huge gathering, but I think there's going to be about 7, 8, 9 of us, something like that. So my wife's got plans. There's going to be crafts involved. I'm the worst person ever at crafts, so I will not be anywhere near what she's going to be putting together. I know like she has like little plastic horses downstairs. I'm not sure what the game plan is with that. I believe we're supposed to hang lights. It's my job to clean and avoid the puppy while doing so. So I don't know. I am looking forward to it. This is the closest thing I think we've had to a gathering, all summer, certainly at our place. But I know I've got chores. I'm not sure everything she's got planned. But
a honeydew list.
What's that?
Honeydew. It's called a honeydew list.
Exactly.
Yeah. High school football, big games this weekend in Class A. Lutheran, number 1 Lutheran is at Class 2A. Number 3 Triton Central in Class 3. Number 1 Indianapolis Chittard taking on 4A number 10 Ron Colley. Number 12, Yorktown versus Class 5A, number 1, New Palestine. New Pal. Whew, they've been pretty good here of late. Then you've got Heritage Christian, Gearin Catholic. Floyd Central, my Highlanders, traveling east to Cincinnati to take on the Fighting Peyton Ramsey Cincinnati Elder. That's going to be on a live stream, so I am looking forward to watching that game. Floyd Central has outscored their first 2 opponents like 85-6. I know they have a really, really, really good offense. They can throw it, run it either way, but that's a test. Cincinnati Elder is a program that I've known about for no reason, just because they've been good for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Elder's a big time program, so that's going to be a nice test for Floyd Central, and what a beginning for that program. But no, didn't you say, are they playing St. X later too? Is that what you said?
Floyd Central or
Floyd Central? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know that they are. There's a St. X in Louisville. They're not playing St. X in Cincinnati unless this game must be a COVID creation here, because that's not I don't recall this unless they scheduled it and it was on the schedule, but this is not a team they've played before. This is not a game they have played before, so it's new.
Right.
So very interesting to see.
Yeah, give them credit for that. Good for Floyd Central.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's gigantic. I mean, yeah. The game of the night, though, Center Grove, number 1, 6A Center Grove, number 2, 6A Carmel. There you go, number 1 and number 2 going at it. Man, I wish I was actually going to be at that game. We talked about that a little bit earlier with David Jackson there. But then Evansville, tons of games. Evansville Bossy at Castle. Central is at Memorial. Evansville Harrison at North. Mater Dei at Vincennes Lincoln. Wrights is playing Jasper. And then Bloomington is just taking on Terre Haute this weekend, Dustin. You got Bloomington North taking on Terre Haute South, and Bloomington South taking on Terre Haute North.
Oh, you crossed them up? Okay.
And then next week, Bloomington North plays Bloomington South. We're covering all the bases within the next 2 weeks. Kit Klingelhofer, former SID at Indiana, a long time under Bob Knight, under all the time. Oh, yeah. His grandson is the quarterback at Bloomington North, I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, interesting.
Lots of Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger against Fort Wayne South. So all kinds of great games. If you can get out and see a game. I know that I was talking to some guys that Bloomington, schools have a big following, obviously. But even Kit, I was talking to Kit yesterday. He's having trouble getting tickets because the tickets are now getting less and less. My daughter, their soccer season, they just announced they're going to allow them 2 tickets per game, which is great, except for she has is me, her mom, and her stepdad. So we're going to have to rotate in. I said, that's all right. I'll stand across the street with binoculars if I have to.
There you go. That makes sense. Good for you on that one. Yeah, no, it's tough. It's terrible. You're seeing all kinds of things they're having to do just to try to make up for things. And I know, everybody was doing senior night week 1.
Yeah. Hey, no chances. Take no chances.
Yeah, taking no chances because you just don't know if it's going to be there. If there's a breakout, you might have to cancel a bunch of games. You don't know, what's going to happen in other schools. If you get that stuff done right out of the way. It's unfortunate. I mean, at least it's good they're, giving it a shot. Just giving it a chance, taking advantage. If you're in a place where you can do it, it makes sense to try. You can't hold out these kids forever on it. Obviously had to cancel a lot of stuff at the end of winter and in the spring. Didn't get to see a lot of this through when it was particularly dangerous. When you saw some tragedy happen just by games that were played before we knew how bad it was. At this point, it's cool that they're at least just giving this a shot and saying, hey, we feel like we've got enough of a handle on this to give these kids some opportunity to play, even if it's not going to be the same kind of crowds that they're used to, even if there's going to be some awkwardness and weirdness to it. At least you can get them on the field. That in itself is a step in the right direction.
Heck yes, I agree 1,000%. We went through this entire show and not really talked about COVID. I mean, it's been mentioned, but not
nice.
And it really pains me. I'm like, well, I could go ahead and finish out. We've only got 6 minutes, but
there, yeah.
IU recommended closing all Greek houses after this one after another was closed, because they're trying to make sure they get a handle on it. But again, I'm not going to start the discussion because it's just dumb, but I just shake my head and laugh. I'm like, look at this. They didn't want to do this, but this is what they want to do. And look at the mess that they're dealing with. And the football issue, it's not going to go away, but I don't know that the Big Ten can recover enough to have. I mean, they can, but I don't know that they're going to recover enough to have a season this year. I don't. I have no idea. I know that the pressure is immense. There is no doubt the pressure is freaking immense on Kevin Warren, and Kevin Warren probably has not as much to do with it as people might think, because there's other people above him that have more more power in that.
Again, as we've said a bunch of times on this, I mean, Kevin Warren serves at the pleasure of the presidents of the Big Ten, in the same way that Mark Emmert serves at the pleasure of the presidents across the NCAA, and Roger Goodell serves at the pleasure of the owners of the of the NFL teams. At the end of the day, you put that guy gets there, and he's got to make the statement, and there certainly he has some level of power, but at the end of the day, nothing happens if those presidents don't vote for it. They just haven't had to want to put their own names out and said, this is why we did it. But I mean, you had, yesterday there was a report that had come out from, and this had to be sort of, the word's not walked back, but Wayne Sebastianelli, who's director, I think he's the medical director at Penn State. I know he's been there a long time. He was definitely there when I was in school. And he was speaking to, I don't know if it was State College High School or a State College City Council meeting or some type of public meeting in State College, and said that, he had seen a report that 30% of Big Ten players who had tested positive for COVID had shown signs of myocarditis. Now, I think it was a outdated, test. They've tested more people and the number is closer to 15%. But again, it was one of those things that even 15% is a pretty healthy number. And again, you don't know if that's a long-term condition, if it's something that because myocarditis is inflammation of the heart, is that something that would go away over time? Would it not? Because obviously we don't know what happens over time yet, because there's no overtime to speak of. We're still, really 6 months into this pandemic in America. So we don't know what's a short-term effect, what's a medium-term effect, what's a long-term effect. But it's just, you're still coming out with it goes back to the term uncertainty that Kevin Warren used over and over and over again. When he was initially interviewed about the decision to cancel on the Big Ten Network, it's still all out there. Again, there is a lot of pressure, and again, there is a lot of arguments on the side of let them play. Again, because like you said, it's more dangerous just to be on campus and not have a regimen than it is to be on campus playing football and have a place to go and have people to report to and get tested all the time. That is ultimately more safe. But again, there's just so many competing things, so much out there, and again, so much uncertainty, and liability is a big factor. And you obviously, you don't know everything, but you know enough to know that it's dangerous. So if something dangerous happens in the long term, it is likely that you'll be held legally liable, and it's all these things you have to consider. Again, would never want to be in Kevin Warren's position. Would not, and it's, I think he's a good guy for the job overall, but it is a tough spot to be in as a first-year commissioner. Somebody pointed out on Twitter to me yesterday, man, this is probably a different ballgame if Jim Delaney's still there. And that's not to say that Kevin Warren isn't as talented or is as smart, but Delaney had, created his sort of power over time. He had to win a bunch of battles to get there, and had to, again, just put himself in a different spot over fighting and battling over years.
Is this the president's regaining some power because Jim Delaney was there so long? And I'm not suggesting that there was a power struggle, but they probably would much more defer to him than they would defer to Kevin Warren.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just bringing the new guy in. It's not because of who Kevin Warren is or anything like that. Just because he's the new guy, it changes things a little bit. That you can push him around a little bit, and he's got to learn how to push back. And Delaney certainly had pushed back over time, been willing to take some chances, and again brought in the Big Ten Network. Jim Delaney made everybody in the Big Ten a lot of money. So an obscene, obnoxious amount of money. So they would have deferred to him because he could say, well, Jim was right before. Warren's still a new guy that you don't know what decisions he'd make won't pay off. You can put him in one of these tough positions where Delaney could be like, look, you're rich because of me. Shut up. It's my call here. It's not anything wrong with Warren, but if you've been the guy that was there for that level of growth,
he has achieved what he achieved.
What's that? Yeah. If he's still there, if Delaney's the first-year commissioner too, he probably is in a similar position to what Kevin Warren is. But if he was in his 30th year or whatever it was, having done everything that he had, especially financially for the Big Ten, we're having a different discussion probably.
I could not agree with you more, Dustin. Dustin Pierce has been with us the last couple of days. I'm sure hopefully he'll be back with us for some point next week, a day or so next week. Make sure you check out the 317 podcast. It's coming to you soon. It's not there quite yet. Also, the Franklin Daily Journal, forgot about that. He is also covering some high school games this
weekend.
For
Greenwood tonight. I think Greenwood and Martinsville is where I'm
Greenwood and Martinsville, good old-fashioned local battle there. Get out and see a game if you can. Cannot thank Alec Lasley enough, as always, as well. But wear your mask, do something nice for somebody, go out and have a wonderful, safe Labor Day weekend. Dustin, to you as well, and to Will, everybody. I hope everybody has a great, safe holiday weekend. I'm Jim Coyle. Until Monday, or maybe even Tuesday, I will see you on the radio.